it's me again. Today's date is December 18th, 2022. It's a Sunday. And in a few hours, I got to go take the sheep and sort them and take some older lambs to the sale barn, which is open on Sunday because tomorrow's the sale, to play the real stock market, the OG stock market. So I play, different stock markets, OTC, NASDAQ exchange, NYSE, and then the OG stock market. And if you think the Wall Street stock market is manipulated, just wait until you get into the OG stock market and the manipulation. And the fact that it costs you money to hold this stock. MMTLP doesn't cost me anything to hold. It just sits there. I don't have to feed it. I don't have to maintain it. I don't have to take care of it. It can sit there. My sheep, on the other hand, you have to feed them. You have to give them medication if they need it. You have to give them water. You have to put time and money into them every day. And hay prices here are still very high because we had a drought, an extreme drought this summer. Nobody was producing hay in Texas. So hay prices are expensive. Couple that with the fact that all the grain prices have gone up 40% this year. Sheep prices have not followed. It can be very difficult. So a few things going on. And let me preface this by saying this is not financial advice. It might be farming advice, but it's not financial advice. This is my own personal blog, and it's entertainment, hence I wear a costume. Are you not entertained? This is one bird's thoughts. Exxon last week had announced that they are buying back $50 billion worth of shares for 2023. They've had record profits this quarter. Despite fuel falling back down, they've still held record profits. They're getting their system of efficiency down very well. Even though the price of oil was falling, they are still doing great. This is because their efficiency system that they had to develop during 2020 is still paying out for them in waves. When a company is faced with a very sobering reality and they're able to facilitate a system that once things come back, they're always making record profits. Even if oil falls, they're still making record profits. That's awesome that they can control that. That shows good contract negotiations on their part because they can lock in prices. So I think that's great. As a result, they are buying back $50 billion worth of stock. So that if they were to make an acquisition, they have quite a bit of stock on hand. They bought back $10 billion last year and the price has gone up for Exxon. Now they're buying back 50. For those who are new, I often talk about oil and gas. It's the nature of myself. I talk about oil and gas and those stocks. Oil and gas, when they have record profits, rather than give you one big dividend, which would make the price of the stock do this, they distribute the regular dividend. Some do a dynamic dividend. More or less, the lion's share of the profits in the company are put back into the company by buying back stock. This means that when Exxon wants to go acquire a new asset, they have the stock already issued in the treasury that's sitting there to pay for it, and it doesn't really cause any additional dilution. It also keeps the price of the stock very stable. Hence why a lot of oil companies will buy back stock with record profits. Some oil companies like ConocoPhillips and Diamondback, which is FANG on the NASDAQ, I call it FANG. ConocoPhillips and FANG have dynamic dividends where they will have a regular dividend every quarter, and then in between those quarters, they will give a dividend that varies in price. It could be anywhere from 50 cents. It might be $4. But that's what those companies do. Terry, Buy the Dip Terry, he's talked about dynamic dividends before. And speaking of other YouTubers, you should really go check out Tony's latest video, which explains the continuous netting system that brokerages use, how it works when they need to get shares from the DTCC issued by the transfer agent, and how this applies to our case, because we're not issued something that has a monetary value attached to it. We're issued a share. And there is the strong possibility that the transfer agent is full because people were encouraged to preemptively register their shares since June or July. As a result, AST is full and brokers cannot issue you new shares. This might not have been a problem because our documentation, as shown here on the FINRA notice page, our corporate action documentation, explained that the last 2 trading days were supposed to be reconciliation days, meaning if you bought MMTLP during those last 2 trading days, which was the 9th and the 12th, you would not receive the rights to Next Bridge. And if you sold, you would not receive the rights to Next Bridge. And I talked about it, how it would work in a previous video. It's called the Great Reconciliation. Basically, it's sell your position to close or buy your position to close out your short. So you can close out your long or you can buy to close out your short. Alas, FINRA threw out the U3 flag and those 2 trading days were canceled. And if AST is full, that means there's quite a lot of naked shares that need to be reconciled, which weren't. And brokers were left with the sobering problem, as Tony explained in his video. They need to get their allocated shares to cover all the longs. Shorts couldn't close out. And AST is full, already full, so they have no more shares to allocate. So that's a big sobering problem on their hands. Brokerages, when they sell you a share, they tell you it's an authentic share of the company. This is a real share. This is an authentic share. They only sell authentic shares. Brokerages only sell authentic shares. Why would they sell you a counterfeit share? As a result, they always guaranteed that what their shares are represents the company. It's a company share. So when a company has a corporate action, like this, the shares that you have reflect that corporate action. Let's say that there was a dividend and it paid $5. If AST was full, brokerages would still pay you $5, and then they'd go get the money from who owed them. There's a chain of command. I call it the chain. Tony explains it. Brokerages get it from shorts who owe them shares. In the case of MMTLP, there's no monetary amount attached to this. It was actually getting a stock that was issued, and it's a private company stock. As a result, it's pretty limited, and brokers can't just go and self-issue their shares. Henceforth, brokerages are left with the big problem. They owe you a real share of the company. Now, if the company didn't do anything, that's a company issue, right? And they are not responsible for the company failing or the company being fraudulent. But when the company issues something and they don't give it to you, then they're on the hook for selling you something that is fraudulent. The burden is on them. Remember, they told us that these were real shares and they only sell the purest of shares. It's sort of like that TV show Breaking Bad, but with shares. So, what are some of these brokerages trying to do? Well, I have a Fidelity account and I contacted Fidelity. Now, granted, this is a peasant account, and so I get peasant service. But I asked. I said, Fidelity told me I would be given Next Bridge shares, which is a private company, 1-to-1, December 14th. Now, originally, on the December 6th FINRA notice, payment on the 14th. When the new notice came out, that payment on the 14th was taken away. All right. The payment on the 14th was taken away. But originally it was payment on the 14th. And which notice are they reading? But I said payment on the 14th. And I said, there are no Next Bridge shares in my account, just these escrow shares. Do you know where the Next Bridge shares are, Jack? Okay, happy to help. Meta Materials and their transfer agency just distributed the shares yesterday. And I talked to Jack on Friday, the 16th. So now we are just waiting to receive them, and they will be distributed to your account. We currently don't know exactly when we will receive the shares. Okay, these are electronically distributed, so it should happen pretty quickly. But we will distribute them to your account once we get them. And I said, thank you for letting me know. So you get the shares from the transfer agent. I thought the process was that the transfer agent sends the shares to the DTCC, and Fidelity gets the shares electronically, so it shouldn't take more than a day from the DTCC. It looks like the physical certificated are getting mailed directly from the transfer agency to Fidelity. So that's why things are taking a little bit longer than expected. Wait, they need physical certificates now? What is this, 1920? When have you ever had to wait on a physical certificate for something? I said, well, why do you need physical certificates to issue a share electronically? I believe it's because the shares are private, so we hold physical certificates and then distribute them electronically. I thought the distribution process works from DTCC and then AST puts the shares to the DTCC. DTCC allocates the shares, as Tony points out, continuous netting settlement. Why do we need physical shares all of a sudden? Fidelity gets the physical shares, has to manually enter them, and then issue an electronic share. Why can't it be electronically done? Then the certificates are printed, and then, Fidelity has them. That's a much easier way than printing certificates physically, mailing them physically, and then entering it electronically to distribute it. Plus, that increases the margin of errors. And I said that seems like an odd process. I didn't want to argue with him. But I trust you, Jack. How long does it take for them to print out physical certificates overnight to you? And after about 5 minutes, nothing. I said, hello? It's different than most other corporate actions works, but I think we can agree this entire situation has been an odd process. We don't have a timeline when we will receive and distribute the shares just yet. It used to be 30 days. Now they're saying we're not sure. I said, well, when's a good time to come back and check? How long would it take to issue a certificate? I am in no way sponsored by this company, but I'd like to point out when I received my physical certificate from establishedtitles.com, and I had become an official Bird Lady of Scotland. I'm an official Bird Lady of Scotland. It took them 2 days to print me out this certificate and mail it to my house. 2 days, right? Here's a physical certificate. It's very nice and some nice thick paper. It's a proclamation, it's very nicely printed. It's signed, probably, it's a printed signature. But here I am, an official Bird Lady of Scotland, right? 2 days. How long is it going to take these people to do it? If I could do something 2 days, and there's really no money tied to that. It was just me buying a novelty Bird Lady title. He said if you don't see shares in your account early next week, you can contact us and we'll have updated information. I said, okay, see you next week. So a friend of mine who preemptively registered some shares in AST, they registered half their shares with AST preemptively, and then the other half was in the brokerages. Just in case, there was a run-up on MMTLP, they could sell into that run-up if there was. If not, they'll hold until Next Bridge, right? That was their plan. I thought it was great. They were told that they will receive from AST their actual Next Bridge shares in their account on Tuesday. So I think I speculate Tuesday, interesting things are going to happen or could possibly happen. That's when people will start to see the Next Bridge shares in their actual AST accounts. And then they'll question their brokers. Well, why is it my AST account and not at my brokerage? You said it'd be here. Again, this just points out that brokerages have a very big problem on their hands. They have owed you a share. And I know people are talking about gray market. That's the hot thing right now. I have talked about these types of markets before. Some brokerages, you can see such a thing. Some of them keep it secret. It depends on your brokerage, but I call these private bespoke sales, and not all brokerages can do gray sheets. JP Morgan told me, again, I have it recorded in a previous video, that I couldn't take these to the gray market until they were actual Next Bridge shares. That's the caveat. But again, this is the brokerage. Brokerages told you this is a very real share in the company. They would handle the transfer agent process. You don't really need to register. Okay. And again, things were supposed to be reconciled the last 2 trading days, but it happens. The U3. But brokerages are left with the problem. I know I repeat myself. And I apologize for that. But I think you will start to see a lot more stalling tactics this week. They'll, again, like I said before, they'll try to say it's a company problem or a transfer agent problem. And now they have to wait for some physical proclamation to get there before they can enter it then manually and then issue a share electronically, which is backwards. Why can't you issue the share electronically and then print out a certificate? And there you go. Less errors. If you do it the way that they're telling you to do it, that increases the rate of errors tenfold. It's a little bit of logic to throw back at the brokers if you want to see what happens if you throw some logic back at them. And while it can't do much on the whole to speed up this process, it does let brokerages know that, the risk of exposure is certainly growing with each passing minute. And hopefully they'll have this issue resolved very quickly. Okay, guys, that's it for today. We'll see what comes this week again. Next Bridge shares are supposed to be in people's AST accounts on Tuesday. They show up. I was told 5 business days after the 13th. That would put us on Tuesday. I will see you soon. Goodbye.